Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Happy Friday to everybody there. Hopefully you guys have a good weekend lined up for you guys. We got some news from Plarium today. Here we have Skorid the Halfspawn, and it's going to be the upcoming fusion. Kind of predictable, to be honest. We did mention that there's probably going to be a fusion sometime next week, and the announcement would either be this week or early next week. So here it is. The announcement is here. They're aiming for August 1st, which is the Thursday, which again is typical fusion start date. It's probably going to be a summon rush next weekend, so prepare for that. So they're saying about this champion, on August 1st, we're planning a fusion. They didn't say what kind of fusion, for a new champion, Skorid the Halfspawn. Demon Spawn, legendary attack-based magic champion. I would have liked to see another champion in another faction. Demon Spawn's already heavily represented. There's no reason to put like a generic champion in Demon Spawn, to be honest. They could have put more champions in like Lizardmen or like Ogren tribes, but there's definitely underrepresented factions that they could have just put like any kind of fusion in. Yeah, Demon Spawn's just very, very crowded already, but anyways, they're saying being a straightforward damage dealer, Skorid's role is to utilize the potential of a Hex debuff. It will allow this champion to boost their own turn meter, ignore the target's defense, and increase the damage inflicted by Skorid, thus making the champion a strong choice for Hydra battles. So they're positioning this champion as a Hydra champion. So let's jump into the kit here. So I'm going to move my head, but we have Skorid here. And let's go over the A1. So the A1 is going to be a single target, 50% chance to apply debuff spread, taking Hex and placing it on all enemies. If the target isn't under Hex, we'll spread one other random debuff instead. Keep in mind, it's not a 100% chance to debuff spread, so his A1 potentially does nothing. And it's not a place Hex on the A1, so it's kind of worded a little weird. It feels like it's 60% chance to increase to debuff spread. It takes Hex, places it on all enemies. If it doesn't have a Hex, then it takes a random debuff. It feels like there's too many words here. But anyways, it spreads one debuff and it prioritizes Hex. That's about it. His A2, 4-turn cooldown down to 3 turns. Single target. Before attacking, places increased attack on this champion for 2 turns. Repeats the attack on all enemies under Hex. I imagine that means he places increased attack on himself again, like over and over and over again, and then attacks. I don't know, maybe. But yeah, basically it's an AoE if the enemies are under Hex. This attack will ignore shields against targets under Hex, which is kind of weird if it's against Hydra, because ignore shields don't really work against Hydras. So that's kind of a weird part of his kit. Is A2, I don't know. I mean, that's going to be a lot of damage, right? Like if you're attacking Hex champions with increased attack and suddenly it's an AoE, it's going to do some pretty good damage. All of this is going to be, it's going to come down to what his multipliers are, to be honest. And right now we don't know. This is just the preview, right? So his A3, Infernal Malediction, 4-turn down to 3-turn, 20% in books. Not too many books on this guy, 10, but not cheap either. It's going to be an AoE. Before attacking, places Hex. That's great. So he places Hex. No weak hits. No weak hits. So places Hex. 2 turns. Damage inflicted by this skill increases for 20% for each Hex placed. So if you're playing against Hydra, you got 4 enemies. It's going to be increased by 80%. That is pretty significant. And then he has an interesting part of second part to the skill. Heals the champion by 20% for each Hex resisted or blocked. You know, in some situations, you might even use this ability, knowing it will get blocked, to heal this champion. 20% is a pretty significant heal. So even just getting 1 or 2 of those might be enough to keep this guy alive. Depends, again, with his like stats and all that stuff. But yeah, this could be a complete nuke. But for Hydra mainly, because placing Hex in Arena is going to be very difficult, obviously with sheep debuffs, stone skin, and all that stuff. But it's really nice that he can set himself up for more damage. All right, but it seems like you obviously want increased attack on yourself. So unless somebody is giving him increased attack before his A3, he has to use his A2 first. But if he uses his A2 first, he might need a hex setup. So either one of his abilities, he needs some kind of setup to get maximum damage. So he either needs increased attack or somebody else to place hex. But I think himself might be able to be the single hex champion on your Hydra team, because he has a 3-turn hex, and he has ways to, I guess, like, manage the hex if the hex wasn't like fully applied. So for example, if one head was resisted, you have the A1 to spread the hex. So you have some way of like increasing the flexibility of this champion. But of course, you don't have a way to increase the duration of hex. That would have been nice if he could increase the duration of hex. But I think for a 3-turn cooldown, he should be able to be your sole hex champion. His passive fills his champion's turn meter by 10% when attacking champions without hex. Okay, that's kind of okay. It's small, but it's okay. Will ignore 15% of target's defense when they're under hex. So that's additional damage boosting there. 15% of your target's defense. So if you add that to like a merciless set, 6-piece merciless set, so that's 50% of the target's defense getting ignored. That's pretty intense and serious. All of this is going to come down to how insane his multipliers are. Personally, I think his base multipliers, without any of this craziness, are going to be probably low, just because Plarium's probably going to take into account how strong he is at his full potential, like just by himself. And then they're probably going to temper down some of his multipliers so that he doesn't, he's not outshadowing some of the higher cost champions or whatever. That's my thinking, but you never know. Also, this is a fusion. I don't see them favoring this fusion like significantly or anything like that. No aura or anything. Yeah, no aura. But yeah, basically it's just going to come down to what his multipliers are going to be. There's lots of different damage dealers for Hydra. If this one's like particularly squishy, it's not going to be super favorable for him. Just gonna hop over to Hell Hades' website here, just for some research on his hex comparisons. So I looked up all the hex champions, AoE hex champions available right now. So since Skorid's hex is on a 3-turn cooldown, I feel like it's probably okay to just run him solo. So let's check out what the other AoE hex champions have in terms of cooldowns and comparables here. So we have Cleopatrix, which is also a damage dealer. She's running Hex debuff on a 4-turn cooldown. Carolon here, this guy's more of a support. And he has a Hex here and a Weaken on a 3-turn cooldown. So obviously Archer, Ruel is another damage dealer, so it might be comparable to Skorid. And he is running Hex on a 4-turn cooldown. Mary Annex I was thinking about as well. She brings decreased defense, and I believe Hex on 1 move. Yes, 3-turn cooldown, Hex and decreased defense on 1 move. She's also kind of a damage dealer. I would probably compare her Skorid to maybe like Mary Annex. Maybe. But yeah, they both have a 3-turn cooldown Hex. Mishinaki, obviously the most popular Hex champion. I believe his Hex is on a 4-turn. Decreased defense. It's a 3-turn, sorry. It is on a 3-turn. Oh, that's good. Yeah, Mishinaki's Hex is on a 3-turn. So obviously Skorid's going to be in competition with Mishinaki for the 3-turn Hex spot. Mithrala's, I know, is 3-turn as well. Yep, 3-turn Hex with increased defense, increased attack. And then Tila's on a 4-turn. Hex and Leech on a 4-turn. Yep. Falconin also has that long paragraph skill that I don't know. Akentum here is, I believe, 3-turn. Increasing duration, not under Hex, places Hex. Yeah, 3-turn for AoE Hex. So he does have some comparables in terms of like other damage dealers that places 3-turn Hex, like mainly like Mary Annex as a 3-turn Hex. You have a 4-turn Hex with Ruel, Cleopatra, Cleopatrix, which are like kind of like squishy damage dealers. I guess Marionyx is pretty squishy as well, but Mishinaki is going to be like the gold standard for 3-turn Hex champions that's a damage dealer, because Mishinaki is like insane damage dealer. Is this guy going to be better than Mishinaki? Probably not, but we'll know when the damage numbers come out and the multipliers come out, and when we get a chance to test this guy. So, but anyways, guys, August 1st, that's what we're looking for this fusion. Hopefully, yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'm kind of meh about it. His kit looks simple enough, but I wouldn't jump to conclusions right away. I do feel a 3-turn Hex, though, if he can be the sole Hex champion on your Hydra team, he might help early to mid-game players, just lacking in damage, because most early or mid-game players, they're kind of lacking a real damage dealer for Hydra. They're usually relying on HP burn, poisons, and whatever just to do damage. So this guy can actually be helpful for those kind of accounts. And since he covers Hex, you don't need curse gear, which I assume most earlier mid-game accounts don't have curse gear. So I can see this guy being kind of useful in that area. But of course, you probably need some pretty good gear to make him really smack. But anyways, we're going to have to take a look at that next week when we get our hands on this guy. So anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think about Skorid the Halfspawn. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.